Okay, starting with practice 4, we will be doing 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 2, select the expression that is equivalent to this. Okay, now they do not write it the way we write it in advanced math. Like, I make you guys simplify and I tell you no nested parentheses. They left theirs in nested parentheses form. First thing I look at when I see this is first that it has how many terms? 2 terms. That second term has how many factors? How many factors are there? 2 factors. And in disguise, how many factors are there? 2. All right. The 2 terms have in common 1 factor. What 1 factor do the 2 terms have in common? The x plus 4. So you're going to factor an x plus 4. If you like the substitution, it's been a while since we've done it, you can use it. X plus 4. Then I usually did the big parentheses. What's left over here? Another x plus 4. Would that give me the x plus 4 squared? Minus, I took out an x plus 4. What's left over? An x minus 2. Do you see that? X plus 4 times x plus 4 gives me the x plus 4 squared. And x plus 4 times x minus 2 gives me the x minus 2 times the x plus 4. Do you guys see that? Now, when we did it back in Unit 1, I made a big deal about no nested parentheses. What did we do at this point? Don't do it now, but what did we do? Distribute the negatives and combine like terms. Okay, before I do that, I would look at my answers, and they actually do have an answer that looks just like this. And what is it? Which letter? D. Now I'll have kids like, how do I know if I'm supposed to go further? You can't, bless you, you can go further and check to see what would happen. X plus 4 minus x plus 2. X plus 4. What happens here with these x's? Anyone? They cancel out, and I'm left with 4 and positive 2, and that gives me what? It's a 4 and a positive 2 gives me a 6, and I'm going to put it in the front. And do I have that answer here anywhere? This is a right answer. Is this answer here? Nope, so then I go back here, and this is indeed the one that is there. So this is what we would do in this class back in the first unit, first semester. This is what we did. This is how they want you to leave it. Got it? All right. Determine whether each expression is equivalent to x cubed plus 8. All right. First off, please recognize that this one here is not the same. We should know that because are we allowed to ever distribute exponents when there's a binomial or larger inside? If it's a monomial, you can distribute exponents. If it's a binomial, trinomial, 4, 5, 6, 7 terms, you're not allowed to distribute. Okay, so just a quick side note, x plus 2 to the third does not equal x cubed plus 8. You cannot distribute your exponent. Okay, so that's there as a distractor, kind of like, oh yeah, I can do that. And you really can't. Why is that? What does x plus 2 to the third power mean? How many x plus 2's do I have? 3. And if I were to multiply x plus 2 times x plus 2 times x plus 2, do you think it's going to come out to be x cubed plus 8? Now I'm going to have x squared plus 2x plus 4. Simplify that and then distribute to the x plus 2, and it's going to end up to be a longer polynomial. All right. Now I look at these two and which one works. Can anybody tell me what pops out at you about x cubed plus 8? Anything pops out like, oh, I can do this. Soap. Good job. Abigail, do you guys remember that? Okay, what method are we going to use here? Factored out. Cube factoring, also known as SOAP factoring. All right, I'll write down the form. It's a squared, AB, B squared. And it's going to be same, opposite, always positive. What do we, I'm going to factor this one. What sign would I use here for the same sign? Plus. Opposite would be minus, and then always positive. So let's go ahead and factor. What is A in this case? X minus plus. What is B in this case? If this is 8, what to the third is 8? 2. And then A squared is X squared minus 2X plus B squared is 4. And so this one here, yes or no? Yes. The middle one? No. And the last one? Yes. What did they do on the middle one as a distractor? Because it looks the same. The X, the 2, the X squared, the 2X, the 4. What did they do? They did same, opposite, always positive, but treating the same sign as a minus, where the original sign was a plus. So again, distractors. All right. What should we know about the first one on number 4? Yes or no? Can I distribute those exponents and get 8x cubed minus 64? Ladies, yes or no? Can I distribute the exponent? And no. All right. Can I distribute here? Get x cubed minus 8 to the third and distribute. Is that going to give me that? Yes or no? No. All right. So again, we've done some cube factoring. Any thoughts on my cube factoring here? Yes? No? First factor out an 8. And that gives me x cubed minus 8. Okay. A is x. What is B? 2. X squared, 2x, and 4. Same, opposite, always positive. What are my signs going to be? Minus, plus, and then plus. So yes or no on the next one? Yes. All right, questions so far? All right, I'm saying yes to the next one. What do they have for number 4? Yeah. Okay, can anybody tell why the next one is yes? If this one is yes, how can this one also be yes? They didn't factor out the 8. Now, just because they didn't factor completely, it didn't say factor completely, it just says which one is equivalent. So, let's factor this without factoring out the 8. If 8x cubed is my first term, what is A? Or somebody whisper it. What? 2 what? 2x minus what times what times what is 64? 4. And then 2x squared is not 2x squared, it's what? 2x times 2x is 4x squared. 2x times 4 is 8x. 4 squared is 16. Same, opposite, always positive. Again, that was leaving the 8 in and not factoring out. That gives you 2x to the third minus 4 to the third. That's not the way we would have factored it. We would have done the GCF first, but it is factorable. A, B, A squared, AB, B squared. Yes or no for the last one? All right, next one. Determine if each expression is true for all x values. Select yes or no for each function. First one, yes or no. We've talked about this one a few times. Yes or no. Can I distribute and call it x squared plus 4? No. Okay. Next one, I can't factor anything out when it's quantity squared, so I'm just going to work each one out. 2x plus 6. 2x plus 6 squared means what? 2x plus 6 times, can you guys FOIL that really quick? That would give me what? 4x squared plus, come on guys, plus what? Plus 12x plus 12x plus what? 36? Yes or no? All right, check the next one. 4 x plus 3 times x plus 3, because that's what the quantity squared means. Yes or no? And it does not apply to the 4. The 4 just kind of sits there till the end. X squared plus, can you do that middle step all in one? Plus 3x would give me what? 6x plus 9. And what are you going to get when you distribute? 4x squared plus 24x plus 36. Does it work? Can anybody think of another way of doing it rather than FOILing it all out? Like right here, what you could have done? Pull out a 2? Good. If I had pulled out a 2 of the first one, what would that have given me? And what would I pull out of the second one? I'm going to put it in the front. And what would that give me? X plus 3 squared, or x plus 3 times x plus 3. And what's 2 times 2? 4. All right, so either way, however you want to work it out, does it work? Knowing what we know about quantity squared, x minus 9 squared, is that the same as x minus 3 times x minus 3? Do we have to work that out to know? No. All right. Knowing what we know about, what would I call this? Difference, well, I'm jumping ahead. When we FOIL this, what ends up happening to the middle terms? Okay, let's work it out. X squared plus 5x minus 5x minus 25. Is that what I get when I FOIL or double distribute? X squared plus 5x minus 5x minus 25. Yes or no? Okay, what happens to the middle terms? So I'm left with x squared minus 25. Is that what they gave us on the other side?
Yeah.
So yes or no?
On the answer thing, it says that the third one is no, but I thought it was yes.
No, yes. No, no? No, it's a yes. You guys would agree, yes?
Yeah.
For all values of x. Yeah, it doesn't matter what x is, whether it's 0 or positive or negative. Yeah, let me write that one down. Which one was it? 5? The third one on number 5? Okay, so typo on the answer key. All right. Any other questions on this one? Did anybody get this last one without showing all the work that I did here? Like, can any of you foiled it in your head and know that it's going to be x squared minus 25?
I just factored the other stuff.
Okay, all right.
Minus 5 is minus 5.
Perfect. So she's saying I didn't even start with this side. I started with this side and factored x minus 5 and x minus 5, and it's not the same as x plus 5, x minus 5. Good job. All right. Questions?
I thought for like number 5, the third one would be no, because it would be x minus 6x minus 9, and then like x minus 9 to second power doesn't equal that when you factor it.
Say it again.
Because if you factor the x minus 3, it would become x squared minus 6x minus 9
Plus 9.
plus 9.
Okay, so you're saying if you foiled this,
Yeah.
is that what you're telling me?
Mhm.
You would get x squared minus 6x plus 9. Okay.
And then if you factor x minus like 9 to the second power, it wouldn't equal that.
What would you get when you did x minus 9 to the second power?
X to the second power minus 18x plus 81.
Oh. I apologize, and I don't know why I didn't see it. It's obvious now that you've said it. Thank you. And again, like one of those tricks on the eyes. What should this be on the left-hand side?
X plus 3 and x
Yeah.
No. In order for this to be true, what would I need here? Not x minus 3, x minus 3. It would need to be x minus 9 and x minus 9.
Yeah.
Do you guys agree? Thank you. And again, one of those things that were like popping out. Now that I see it, it's like, duh, how can I not have seen that? Thank you. All right, so going back in here, and this is correct. Okay, so two things. If in order for this to have worked, this would either need to be an x minus 3 quantity squared, or this would need to be x minus 9 times x minus 9. Yes?
Yeah.
All right, are we good? Again, thanks. Okay, any others?
Can you do number 7?
7. Choose from the expression below and place the rectangle to create an equation that is true for all values of x. Assume no denominators equal 0. All right. Now, when they're doing computerized testing, they need, it's hard for you to, you can't really show work. I mean, you will have scratch paper that you will turn in. Ladies, I do need you listening. And you will show that work there, but you can't show the computer like your work, or the graders how you're doing your work. So this is the best that they can do to get you to show your work. So for example, I'm going to ignore the boxes over there. If we did this back in Unit 1, and I told you to add these two fractions, what would you first say you have to do? Find a... And what would the common denominator be? X times x plus 2. Is that what you're telling me? And what would I multiply the first fraction by to get that? Top and bottom by what? X. And the second one by... So what they're asking you is, when you have a common denominator, what's the common denominator going to be? x plus 2. And what are you multiplying the 3 by to make it have a common denominator? And what are you multiplying the 4 by to make it have a common denominator? Now, we typically wouldn't show our work this way. We would just distribute and combine like terms. But they're asking you pretty much what would you multiply the first fraction by, the second fraction by, and what would your common denominator be? Okay, so what goes in the first box? What did I multiply this one by? X. You can see it right there, and the x is there. The second one, what would you multiply it by? X plus 2, that's right there, and the bottom is x plus 2. The way it's going to be for those, well, all of you here will be taking the computerized test. It'll have a little drag, so you'll put your mouse on the x and drag it over to the box and drop it. You'll put your mouse on the x plus 2, drop it over to this box, drag it over to this box and drop it. And then your mouse on the x plus 2, drag it and drop. Make sense? And that's the same thing they're asking you here. So can anybody tell me first off what the common denominator would be on this one? For sure I'm going to have an x plus 2. And what's going to be on the outside? X squared. So what would you multiply the first, if it already has the x plus 2, what would you multiply this one top and bottom by to get the common denominator? It has x plus 2. What is it missing? The x squared. All right, 4x, it has one of the x's, so what would I multiply this top and bottom by? Do you see that? It has one x. I need it to be an x squared, so do I need another x? I also need the x plus 2. So I'd multiply by x plus 2. Is that up here? Yes, it is. X and x plus 2. And the last one has the x squared, so what would I multiply by? It has the x squared, so what's missing? The x plus 2. Yes, did you in your Math 3 class last year have test questions like this where you were like filling in boxes?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that because you did it in Math 2. I know that because we had them a lot. For example, this one right here. Do this like you usually would do. What would you do here? Distribute first or FOIL first? I like to FOIL first and then distribute. You can distribute first. Just remember, if you do the 2 to everything or just the first one? Just the first one. So I like to save for the end, so I have smaller numbers to FOIL anyway. So I FOIL and then distribute, and once you do that, you look over here, and they're looking for the leading coefficient and your last term. And your middle term should be 58x, so that's like a double checker. Got it? All right, any others from this worksheet before we move on to worksheet 5? Okay, so let's take a look at worksheet 5.
Can we do 9A?
9A. This one right here.
Yeah.
Okay. This is I'm glad you asked this one. Did anyone else have a question on this one? Did anybody get it? This is 9A on practice 5. Okay. If you didn't look at it and this is your first time looking at it, can anybody tell me what they're asking you to do? We've used special words, and they're not using the special words. They're just saying, get this form. It's vertex form. Let's put that note there. Good job. She said, isn't that vertex form? And what's the process called? We actually just took our test on this. What's the process called to get this to look like this? Starts with the C. Complete the square is correct. All right, so now if you knew to complete the square, would you really need me to explain it, or would you most likely know how to do that on your own? I'm going to go over it, but I mean, you would like, oh, okay, I can try this. But when it doesn't say complete the square, it takes a little longer. Okay, what are they asking me to do here? Now that I've said it, now that we've talked about it, can you see that that's what they're asking you to do? Okay, just for the sake of this problem, I'm going to change the f of x to y. I will put it back. 28x squared plus 16x minus 80. What's the first thing I do? Because this is in the way, I add it to the other side. I don't want to take out the 28 yet, because if I do, it's going to trap this number there. So move it over. Y plus 80 equals, and I'm going to take out the 28 because I can't, my leading coefficient needs to be 1 when I complete the square. Excuse me. All right. What's hard is pulling out the 28, because if I had this right here and I asked you to take out a GCF, would 28 be part of it? No. If I asked you to take out your leading coefficient would indeed be 28. So 28 times what is 16 is the question. 28 times what equals 16? How can I figure that out? What would I do? Divide 16 by 28, and can you guys reduce that? 4/7. So the number here is 4/7. So if I were to distribute this, I would get 28 squared plus 28 times 4/7 is what? 16. All right, plus blank. Oh, and what did I forget on the other side? Plus blank. All right, we talked about cutting this half and squaring it, and doing that without changing to decimals. Do they have decimals on your answers? No. Doing that without changing to decimals. So I know it's wonky and it's harder than usual, but we can handle it. What's 4/7 cut in half? That's equivalent to 4/7 times 1/2. So I'm going to repeat the question. What's 4/7 cut in half, or divide by 2? 4 over 14. Okay, I'm going to explain why, because what was another way I said it? I said 4/7 divided by 2 is the same as 4/7 times 1/2, right? Taking half of a number is the same as cutting it in half, dividing it by 2. So 4 over 14. Does that make sense? All right, square it. What do you get? 16 over what's 14 squared? 196. Now, again, you may be thinking, oh, I would never do this. Yeah, but on the test, and it's a grade, I mean, and you're trying your hardest, it's doable. Do you agree? I mean, you have these tools. It's not like you're learning something new.
Can you reduce this one?
You can reduce. Actually, we should have done that first. Thank you. All right, so we get 4 over 14, and let's do it because it's going to make it easier in the long run. What does that reduce to? 2 over, actually, yeah, we can. Okay, so she's saying before we square it, cut it in half. So 4 over 14 is 2/7, and 2/7 squared is what? 4 over 49. Now, is 4 over 49 what I put on this other side? I multiply it by 28. Again, not the nicest problem, but we're old enough where we can handle it. 4 over 49 times 28. Does 28 and 49 reduce? What goes into 28?
Oh,
7. Does 7 go into 49? Okay, so 28 divided by 7 is 4, and 49 divided by 7 is 7, so I have 16 over 7. Questions? Again, not one that we like, but doable. I mean, it's not like I'm teaching you anything new. You know how to work with fractions. You know how to complete the square. Putting it all together is not the nicest problem, but we can handle it. Okay. We're pretty much done. We just have to factor, and I am running out of room. Okay. So I'm going to do two things at one time. I'm going to factor this, and I'm going to move this number to the other side, and I'm going to put y back to f of x. F of x equals 28's in the front, parentheses squared, x plus, do you guys remember how to factor this? And I'll put it like this first. What times what is 4 over 49? And they have to be exactly the same, so just square root it. What times what is 4 over 49? 2 over 7 and 2 over 7, and is 2/7 plus 2/7 4/7. Yes? Okay, so this is 2/7 squared, and then 80 plus 16 over 7. I'm going to leave it like this for now. Do you agree when I add I can just say 80 and 16/7? I'm going to leave it like that for now. If you're taking a multiple choice test and it has this answer down here, what is that? Everything else looks the same for us, yes or no? Except for that last number, 576 over 7. What would you do to this to check that it is the same thing? Do you guys know how to change a mixed number to an improper fraction?
You do the
Multiply and then add. So 80 times 7, I'm just plugging in my calculator really quick. 80 times 7 is 560 plus 16 is 576 over 7. And is that the same number at the bottom? Those of you that have it, yes. It's upside down, but is it the same? Yes. Yes, it would have been minus. Thank you. And minus because it was plus on the other side, and then you subtract it over.